I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Sarah, and this is Public Comment, North Smithfield news by the neighbors for the neighbors. We are local moms and small business owners just digging through the issues so you don't have to. We bring you facts and honest narratives in a format that fits your busy morning schedule. And speaking of busy mornings, how was yours?
Mine was good. So I am headed out of town at the end of the week, Sarah, as you know. And Sarah
You're gonna
knows.
have to remind me 3 more times.
Yeah, Sarah knows this because she tried to book something with me after. No, it's okay because we set up a calendar. We now have a calendar.
Yes.
So Sarah knows where I am. I honestly think I don't share my location with anybody, but I might have to start sharing my location with you just because you can't, so you can find me. But
what was going to be the end of that original sentence?
I don't know. I already forgot. But the bigger thing is this morning, big accomplishment because my husband has to feed Lucille, which is my sourdough starter, while I'm away. So He watched me feed Lucille. He feels confident. He's going to do it himself tomorrow. So if he watched me this morning, I'm going to watch him tomorrow morning.
Love it.
So I think Lucille is going to survive my trip. Thank God for husbands. Yeah.
Sarah. And sourdough starters.
And sourdough starters. My sourdough starter is doing well. She's thriving. She's filled with bubbly bacteria. So, Sarah, you were at a water park yesterday. How are you feeling this morning?
I am feeling really good. It was so fantastic. Oh, yeah. I basically live on the lazy river every year that we go. Mm-hmm. It's just an absolute favorite. And I just got to spend 90% of my time. And I even made a little friend.
Yes, you sent me a picture of Theodore.
I did. So Theodore is the little 1/2-inch baby frog that decided to take up residence in my kid's crock. And I found it when I lifted up the crock. Fortunately, before my kid's foot went into it. And
he was, I'm gonna put a picture in the show notes. He was so little.
He's teeny tiny little baby. He still had like his little like pointed baby toed frog butt from when he was a tadpole. It was adorbs. And he lived on me for a good solid 2 hours. He just hopped from hand to hand, went up my arm, snuggled down a couple times and slept on me. He was just happy to chill. Yeah.
Well, and this is great today because we have with us as our guest a huge lover of animals.
True.
Sue AnderBois. I feel like I always see your like cute animal of the week posts on Facebook. So Sue is running for Lieutenant Governor in Rhode Island. And she is here today to chat with us. So welcome, Sue. Do you want
Thanks for having me?
Oh. Yeah, we're so pumped. Do you want to just like introduce yourself and talk to our listeners and just kind of tell them a little bit about you?
Yeah, happy to. Hi, everybody. And thank you guys for having me. I'm so pumped. Long-time listener. No, first-time caller.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. You are right within our demographic. You're like our exact, we have very few men tuning in, a lot of women. So.
But I do also just like love local government and government in general. So when you guys start posting this, it's like, oh, this is great. I love the behind the scenes. Very excited to join. But hi, everybody. I'm Sue AnderBois. I'm running to be Lieutenant Governor. I'm currently on the Providence City Council. I've had a long career doing environmental policy, climate policy. I was Rhode Island's first director of food strategy. Also lover of animals. I have 2 cats. They're tuxedos, Zenny and Wasabi, and a dog, Captain Ruggles. We adopted Captain Ruggles at the Belize Toyota in Warwick, which is also where we got our car. So that is where we get things.
Wait, at the same time? Like
at a different time.
Was it like a promo? Buy a car, get a dog?
That's like when we had cats before the cats we have now, and it was like a buy one get one thing. And I kept the receipt. And anytime our one cat Maury was bad, I was like, "You were the free one." But current cats are Zenny and Wasabi, and they're very cute.
Anyway, so do you want to tell us a little bit about why you decided to run for Lieutenant Governor?
I would love to. So I decided to run. So I mentioned on the city council, and I was trying to decide if I should run again for council, if I should do nothing and just, be a full-time worker, which a lot of people don't realize the Providence City Council is part-time nights and weekends. So it's like 2 full-time jobs. Most of us have jobs, not all of us. And so I was trying to decide, what's next. And I was looking at the state and really thinking, where can I be most useful? And like my whole driving force, not to sound cheesy, is like I ask myself constantly, well, Sue, like, what are you going to do about it? That's my big thing. It's like tattooed on my arm. You can't see it because we're audio, but it was my gift to myself. I got a tattoo that says, what are you going to do about it? On my forearm for myself. And I was just thinking, like, we have some really big challenges in this state, but like really solvable problems.
Yeah.
And I get really frustrated when I see, oh, we could really do something about this. And we're not. Like, I know we're going to talk more about this later too, but like energy issues, housing issues, there's a lot of big things that I know we could be tackling. And that's a lot of why I ran for council. I remember talking with a friend of mine who was on the council at the time. This was 2021, and we were on Zoom because, those are the times we were in. I was like, gosh, like, what's going on? Like, why can't this council, this is the last one, pass like any clean energy legislation or anything related to housing, or like what is going on in that building? And she was like, well, we just need different butts in these seats. And I was like, oh, a lot of the things I care about are just happening not happening because people aren't making the decisions. Like, I can't complain about it if I'm not willing to do it. And so when I thought about some of these big challenges we have at the state and like how we could really use the lieutenant governor's office to like be this place where we could take on hard systemic challenges, work with the General Assembly, work with the governor, like be this like collaborative policymaking shop, I was like, I gotta try and do this. Like, we've got solvable problems, and I can't complain that they're not happening if I'm not going to throw myself at it and try and do it myself.
Yeah. And
Oh, that's
for
fair.
our listeners, can you explain a little bit about what a lieutenant governor actually does, like what the scope of responsibilities are in their office?
Yeah. So Rhode Island, every state does it a little bit differently. The way it's set up in Rhode Island, there's two like defined responsibilities, and then there's like a third option, which I'll describe as well. So the first, which people are familiar with, is you step in if something happens to the governor. So you're there in case they leave. That's happened several times throughout Rhode Island's history, most recently with our current governor. When Governor Raimondo left, McKee became governor. So we have a recent example of that. And I personally think, just to share, we want a lieutenant governor who's ready for that. Like, if that should happen, they're ready, able, have the vision and capability. But like, they're not running to wait around and hope that happens. Like, that they're going to do this job to the fullest extent they possibly can. So the two other roles in the office. So one is that the lieutenant governor's office oversees 3 advisory councils. There's one on long-term care, one on small business, and one on emergency management. And so you bring together these like large coalitions, these large bodies, to advocate on behalf of those issues. This is going to sound so cheesy, but I feel like I'm among a safe space. I could rock a government task force. I love a government task force. That's like one of the reasons I'm excited about this is like,
what is not to love about a government task force?
Because you can really get some stuff done. There's 2 versions, like we've all been at these where like you sit in a room and everyone just like reports out for 3 hours and you're like, oh my God, what are we doing? You're looking at your watch, everyone's texting. But you could also have a government task force where like, you're like, wow, we've got all the best people in this room, where you know what we need to get done. And these are issues we can't solve alone. We're doing them together. And so you bring folks together and do it together. And that's why these were originally created, to like solve some real issues in these 3 important areas. And that's what a lot of my background is. That kind of like coalition problem solving, which I'm happy to talk more about. But then the third role of the lieutenant governor's office, and this one is totally optional, I kind of call it choose your own adventure. Right. Lieutenant governors have the opportunity, and where you have the opportunity to elect a lieutenant governor who sees the opportunity of this office as a place where you can take on some of these hard systemic challenges and use the fact that you're independent of the governor, you're independent of the General Assembly. But if you know how to make government work, you can actually take on and like move the needle on some of these harder systemic challenges we face and take a more like whole of government approach. Someone asked me the other day, like, well, who would you rather report to of who's running for governor? And I was like, well, that's the beauty. You don't report to the governor. You report to the people of Rhode Island. And so like, regardless of who the governor is, you still have the ability to get things done. And you can still take on like a big portfolio yourself. So that's the third big chunk. And that is optional, but I think that's like the real huge opportunity of this office.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and
really
that's what I think is interesting, because there had been some talk, I know, about changing the electoral process so that the governor and the lieutenant governor run on a ticket.
Yeah.
and I would assume that would kind of change the dynamic of the role, right, to being more of a hierarchy between the governor and the lieutenant governor versus two independently elected offices that are accountable to voters.
Yeah, it would change the dynamic. And there are pros and cons to both approaches. But given that we have the approach we have here, and it would need to be changed in the Constitution to change it, like, I just think we need to like do the heck out of the way that it is now, like just really do the role as big as possible. But if they change it in the future, it would just be a different role. It'd be more like president, vice president, where like the vice president gets like assigned things, or, you know, is the face of certain things, but isn't like the, you know, it's more subordinate.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So what would be your choose your own adventure?
Yeah. So there's a couple that I'm excited about. I'm a very excitable person, you guys.
We love it. We love it.
You know what? I love how you light up when you talk about this stuff, because as soon as I asked the question, you were just like, okay, well, actually.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm pumped. One thing I'm really excited about is to take on our energy challenges. And that's been a lot of what my background is. And I think we have some really big opportunities. And preview for you guys, I will be releasing a full energy plan in the next couple days. So you're hearing it here first on public comment North Smithfield.
Okay. I'm
coming out soon.
I feel honored. We have never broken a story before.
You're breaking the story here on
This
public
is a
comment
first for us. This is like a little treat.
Love that.
And but we have a real opportunity to, I mean, everyone's experiencing this. Like our energy bills are going sky high right now. And this is part of a regional trend. We are over-reliant on fossil fuels, and also in which are volatilely priced. The supply does not meet the demand. Like it is a very and you know, they pollute. Anyway, we are overly reliant on one fuel.
Well, they run through a strait that is currently not
currently blocked.
So,
I mean, they're subject to whims outside of Rhode Island. Like when Russia invaded Ukraine, you know, our bills went sky high. When we invaded Iran, boom. And then we have one utility in this state, basically. It's a regulated monopoly. And they spend a lot of money on infrastructure. And the way that we've set up their business model through legislation is that they earn a rate of return for their shareholders for every dollar they spend on infrastructure. So if your incentive is tied to infrastructure build, you're going to build a lot of infrastructure. And there are different ways that we can instead guide our energy system so that it's being done in the best interest of Rhode Islanders and not just utility shareholders. And we have not been seizing that opportunity. And there's a way we can do it so that we are stabilizing our rates, diversifying our energy sources, and having like cleaner air, cleaner water, and better local jobs for folks. It is a real like win-win-win-win-win situation, but we need that kind of leadership to guide it, because energy is a really complicated strategy. And there are very wealthy special interests who would like to, like the utility, for example, who would like to see it continue in a way that makes them and their shareholders the most money. I mean, that's just how it's set up, and that's it is what it is. And so I'm really excited to take that on, because I feel like we've got a really huge opportunity to have like better rates, local jobs, cleaner air, cleaner water, cleaner energy. Like we could return to a place where we're a national leader on this. For a long time, we were like a national leader in energy efficiency policy. We were a national leader in moving the needle on clean energy. We had like all these clean energy businesses opening, and we've really taken a giant step back in a lot of that. And so I'm excited to take that on day one. And that's a lot of what I've done on the city council. I passed a series of ordinances that required us to start reporting our energy use, to track our energy use, to better manage it, and then require all municipal buildings to be carbon neutral by 2040, because we're doing like $1 billion of school construction. So it's like, let's do it right while we're rebuilding a lot of these schools, while we're investing in infrastructure. And our energy bills are going down. We are saving money on our energy bills. So it's not just that they're stable, they're like headed south, which is great. And I just want that for all of Rhode Island. Like, let's have some foresight. So that's one of the things I'm excited to take on day one.
Yeah. Well, and I'm kind of leading that to a follow-up question. Like, you're sort of kind of mentioning that bills are actually trending down, which I think in a little bit answers my follow-up question. But what would you say to a voter who's like, even maybe empathetic to wanting to be less reliant on fossil fuels, but is like, I need a lower energy bill like today. Like I'm feeling really crushed today. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say a few things. One is 100% agree. Like, people are being crushed right now. And it's not just energy, it's also food, it's housing costs. It is crushing out there. And so a few things, there are ways that we could be providing better relief now. For example, only like less than a third of Rhode Islanders who qualify for the low income rate through the utility actually get the low income rate. There are programs we could be like helping folks get onto right now that they're not accessing. So I would love to make sure that these are available, that people get them right now. There's also programs for like energy efficiency investments that have really been underserving like low income and multifamily housing for a long time. We have really great energy efficiency programs. I'm on the state's Energy Efficiency Council, but there are certain segments of our state that they've not been serving. And those are things that help you save on your energy bills right now. Like when we got our audit on our house, I'm like pointing around, like you can see my house right now. We immediately saved like a quarter of our energy bill because just from like new lighting, some insulation, like there's programs in place right now that we should be making sure folks need to take, that folks can take advantage of. And we should be putting ourselves on track for future savings. Like we shouldn't like try and have some minor savings right now that then set us on the track for higher bills in the future. And I want to make sure we're both addressing the issue right now, giving folks the resources they need now, but also setting us up for like a better future. And even if you don't care about climate change, which I know some people don't, I personally do quite a bit. That's a lot of what my career's been on. But even if you don't, a lot of this stuff we're doing, it's going to lower your bills and create good local jobs. And you know, you don't have to care about climate change to think that energy efficiency is a great policy.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, and that Rise Energy Audit program, just to give a name to it in case anyone wants to Google it, but to
I'll
have
put it
that
in the show
done,
notes too, so people.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
Perfect.
Sign up. It's free. You've already paid for it.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I was going to say. It is completely free to have them come out and do an energy audit. You get a report at the end saying exactly what to do. And they offer, because it's through Rhode Island Energy, they already apply all of the discounts and programs to reduce the cost.
And that sort of leads me into, I don't know if this is going to be a question as much of a statement, and then you can sort of reflect on it, I guess. But one of the things Sarah and I think are really passionate about is kind of trying to explain and understand the ways like different levels of government sort of like scaffold together.
Yeah.
And so when you take something like energy, there's sort of federal energy policy that dictates, you know, a lot of infrastructure spending that's beyond the scope of the state. And then when you get kind of down to the state level, so you have a state level program that is passed by your, you know, if you're going to pass a new program that's being passed by your representatives that you're sending to state house and state senate, but that is being implemented by the executive branch, the governor, lieutenant governor. But then that has to be sort of brought down to the local level, right? So for example, I'm trained as a social worker and as a case manager, and like a big part of my job was connecting people to these types of resources. And oftentimes the home of whoever was sort of doing this on a town or city level was at a community center, which we don't have in North Smithfield. Right. And so that's been one of our big things, is like trying to figure out how to put up some kind of building that kind of can act as like a centralized hub where people can get this kind of information, where people can maybe meet with somebody, whether it's a social worker or a case manager or a senior advocate, to explain the different options that are available to them. And so I guess I'm just, you know, I'm kind of saying this because in the LG debate, you talked a lot about like levels of government working together. Yeah. And again, it's not really a question, but I'm going to
No, I love this. Yeah.
I'm just going to let you cook. Like take what I just said and then just, you know, ruminate on that for a minute.
No, I love that, because I think for a lot of folks, government is a thing, but it's actually like a lot of different things. And I think we need folks who understand a lot of those different layers. Like I can talk about it with energy, but I think another good example is like resilience. So when I was working at the Nature Conservancy, I led our municipal resilience program for a while, and that is doing working with the state's infrastructure bank, and we did climate resilience plans in every city and town of Rhode Island, and including North Smithfield, and
love it.
And what I think a lot of folks don't realize is these like layers and how they impact like whether or not, like how the boots like hit the ground or the rubber hits the road, whatever, in our local municipalities. Because for something like resilience, municipalities and the people who live in them know best like what's happening. They know where the flooding is happening when we think about resilience. They know where the stormwater issues are. They know which road is where like the utility goes, the electric goes out all the time. Like people know where these things are and what's going on. But then to address it, you often need federal resources or state resources,
Right.
or to understand this kind of like, okay, how does the puzzle piece fit together? And a lot of what we did was help put it all in one place, and then help them access federal, like state funding through the infrastructure bank. And then also when there was more federal funding, to say, cool, now that you have this like list of priorities, these are the types of like programs you can be applying for at the federal level, because you have to kind of understand like where it all comes together. But I think a lot of times, pardon me, we see these federal programs and there's money. There's like so much money that exists. But like if you're a town like Gloucester, for example, has very few town employees. They're not, they have the same challenges we all face with flooding and like needing to repair roads and things like that. But they don't have like a whole bunch of staff to be applying for federal funding all the time. And applying for federal funding is complicated and challenging and resource intensive and bureaucratic, and you have to know where to look and all the things. So I think like an ideal for me, one of the reasons I'm excited about Lieutenant Governor, to run for Lieutenant Governor, is it could be a place where I've been told one of my skills is making order out of chaos, of like, like how do we unravel some of those noodles and say like, okay, this is how it fits together. Like, what does this puzzle actually look like when we put it together? Because it's not that people aren't accessing programs because they don't want them. They don't even know. Like, and or it's not the right messenger. Like one thing I was really excited about is I'm on the state's Energy Efficiency Council, which I mentioned, which provides oversight on all these energy efficiency programs. And we've been noting for a long time that the programs weren't really being used by low-income customers or folks who live in multifamily housing or low-income housing. And there's a lot of barriers that get in the way of like why someone wouldn't participate. But one is also just they weren't hearing it from the right messengers. And so we worked with URI, their outreach center. Shout out to the amazing Kate Venturini, who managed a lot of this work. And they like did a like community of practice cohort with folks who work in community centers, who do public health, who are meeting with folks day to day, and who people trust in their communities, to make sure they understood what programs existed and that they could explain to the people they were working with of like, hey, do you have really old lighting in your home? You know, or like, is your home drafty? Here's like how you access these programs. And then in doing so, we also found out some of the problems with the programs. Like someone called the Rise line and they spoke only Spanish, and there was no one on the other end to talk to them. And we're like, okay, we have a very large Spanish speaking population, at least in parts of the state. And so it's like, we need to make sure that that's a thing. Or like they fixed, this was actually a challenge I faced, and I felt silly about it. You had to like physically call somebody to schedule your appointment. But if you're like super busy and you're working a lot or you're doing whatever, get like finding the time to get on the phone during like a business hours can be a real challenge. Then they also added like an online component where you actually can schedule online for the Rise person to come. And so it was partly like who is the messenger? Like if Rhode Island Energy comes to your door and they're like, hey, we've got some programs for you to save energy, you're probably gonna be like,
I'm not answering the door.
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to be really clear. I'm like, I'm like closing the shutters. I'm like turning off all the lights. I'm like laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Let's also be really honest. In North Smithfield, there's also going to be a post online with a photo taken from a distance of these people going.
I know, or a really blurry
who is
ring
this?
camera.
Who are they? Or from the ring camera.
Do they have a permit? Do they have a permit to be out here doing this? Do they get a permit?
And so there's just distrust, but you need to hear from people you trust. And so there has to be all this coordination. You have to be someone who can like work with like lots of different layers. And I think it's just real. And like, that's a lot of what I've been doing in my career, which is why I'm excited to continue in government. But like, there's so many different levels of government, and they need to be able to like see where you plug them into each other. And then like how they provide, not to make it sound like business, but like actual customer service to people in the towns, because people need to know like how to interact. They're not going to know, well, if I click on these 5 links, there's a program I've never heard of that might save me money. Like they need like, yeah.
It's just marketing.
Yeah,
right?
It's a lot of it's marketing. Yeah.
So you have a wide history of fantastic public service.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. But I mean, if you had to choose, what would be the accomplishment or accomplishments that you are most proud of?
Oh, thank you. I'd say one thing, I have 2 that I'm thinking of, but one that I'm really proud of that's recent is my work actually on North Main Street in Providence. So if your listeners don't go to Providence, no shade, you guys. But North Main is I mean, come, it's great. I love Providence, obviously, but North
It
Main.
depends upon what part of Providence and
Yeah.
if there is a bridge. If there's a
Oh.
bridge, number
Fair.
percentage has gone down significantly.
Well, the part that I
I'm sorry.
represent is, yeah, go ahead.
I grew up in Providence. So like I totally get that. And for me, it's more like, okay, how good is the parking? Because I can rock a parallel park like
Nice.
nobody's business. But if you want me to like cram my car in that terrible area behind the jewelry district closer to Rhode
Know
Island
exactly
Hospital,
what you're talking about.
right?
Yeah.
And any of our listeners who've been in that part of Providence are just like,
That's a
I
challenge.
know it.
Yeah.
It's such a challenge.
Yep.
This is a total aside, but I, for the longest time, drove an old Honda Civic, and I had to give him up. His name was Larry a couple years ago because he was just he died.
Aw.
And
Pour one out for Larry.
pouring out for
R.I.P.
Larry. I love
Larry.
Larry, my Honda Civic, but I was like very reluctant to get rid of Larry. And then when I got a more modern car that had one of those backup cameras, I was like, oh, it's game
Ooh.
changing. Like,
Ooh.
I no longer had a disc, like CD player, but I had
Right.
my backup camera, which game changing for parallel parking. But North Main, I'm very proud of this because if folks don't know North Main, it's actually the first road that existed in Providence way back in the 1700s, but it is this huge major road that goes from the State House, basically from the State House north to the Pawtucket border. And it's mostly a state-owned road. There's little parts that are owned by the city. And for a long time, it was an incredibly dangerous road. It still is. It's a work in progress. But my first 2 years on council, we actually had 4 individuals killed on North Main. People who were
Wow.
walking on walking like they could and should be
Yeah.
on the sidewalk or trying to
Right.
cross the street or do whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
That's a death trap. Like
it's a
4
death trap.
fatalities in a year is like
Mhm.
literally
Yeah.
a death trap.
It's crazy. And so I was like, what is going on? Why is no one doing anything about this? And I was like, I guess I have to do something about this. And
What are you going to do about
yeah,
it?
what am I going to do about it, Sue
Right.
AnderBois? And so really was like, okay, well, what's going on? Like, why has nothing changed on this road for so long? Why are we just like accepting that it's so dangerous? And it's like every couple of years, there's a new plan for North Main. Like there have been so many, including there was a really great one done by my predecessor, Nirva, right before she left office. So I read all these old plans. One of the great things about my neighborhood is I have a neighbor who actually had all of the plans going back like 20 years. She had them printed out in her house. And so I sat in her house and I like took pictures of them all. And because some of them were just like printouts and read them. And really what was happening was, or not happening, is it's complicated. It's like this state-owned road, except these little pieces they're owned by the city. And like the infrastructure has shared ownership. So it's like some of the traffic lights are owned by the city, some are owned by the state. No one knew who owned the median. Everyone thought it was the parks. It's not the parks. I'm a parks commissioner. There's the RIP to R line that goes down. So they control some of the lights as well, which is great. It's the most used line in the state. But it was just complicated. Like the street lights are owned by the city, but like managed by like a third-party consultant in Connecticut. It was complicated.
Right.
And so what I said was, okay, if none of us can fix this alone, you can send all the letters you want to the mayor to fix this. Like he can't actually fix this,
Was there a task force?
Yes, there was, and there still is. And I'm
Amazing.
so proud of it because
The
we've
look of
actually been making
glee on both of your faces. Oh my
I love
God.
this work so much. And we've made some real progress. And we've had folks show up. I was very intentional about who we put on this task force, like which groups. We had neighbors. One of our neighbors who lives near North Main is like a really amazing traffic engineer. So we're like, obviously you're on this. You're both a neighbor and a traffic engineer. But we had the city's traffic engineer. We got RIDOT involved. We found the right person at RIDOT. And we've made more safety improvements. So I'm going to say 2 things. One, we've made more safety improvements in the last 2 years than like the last 30 years combined. Things
Wow.
like you now have like
Wow.
a human amount of time to cross the street. It used to be like 23 seconds. And it's like you had to be
Oh, I remember
20-year-old.
running.
Yeah, you had to like
You
like,
had to
book it.
book it.
Yeah. Now you can like cross the street. We've like I found federal funds, about $500,000 to put new lighting in across the whole corridor because a lot of the crashes were in areas where it's just really dark. Someone was crossing the street at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and it's just
Mhm.
dark. They weren't seen. And the second piece of this is, so there's a whole bunch of, I'm happy to talk about what all the little things are we fixed, but it was like bring everyone together
Yeah.
and then just figure it out. RIDOT did a road safety assessment of the whole. They spent their own money to do this road safety assessment. I took a day off from work, and there was like a whole process where you like walk up and down the street and you like mark maps with like everything. We removed all this old signage that was confusing, put up no turn on red everywhere. So it's been a real process. We fixed the weird intersection where Benefit and North Main meet, which like nobody knew how to like navigate. There's some beautiful planters there now too. So it's not only like
Ooh.
fixed, but more beautiful. Shout out to the Streets Coalition for their work
Thank
on that.
goodness.
And we're going to make larger systemic changes to the road because the way it's designed tells people you can go too fast. And so we actually got the state to give the city the state transportation improvement plan funds. And we just contracted with a design engineer firm who's going to do a process to like redesign parts of the road. So it's not just let's add some lights, let's do these other things, but like, do we make it 2 lanes instead of 4? Do we add a bike lane? Do we a protected bike lane? Like, what does this look like to actually change? So I'm really proud of that because that had been a persistent issue for decades, and everyone just kind of accepted people are going to keep dying on the street. I'm like,
that
no
4
way.
people a year.
Yeah.
That's
I was
like
like,
more. That's like
Yeah.
higher than the violent crime rate, basically, like per capita.
That's like more people than
insane.
had gotten shot, you know, like it's
Yeah.
crazy. And like, you know, and if 4 people had gotten shot on one road, there would have been like
Right.
8,000
total
flock cameras.
overhaul.
You know what I mean? Like, and like, meanwhile, which I know we could talk about flock. I've got big feelings, but you know, 4 people died because they're hit by cars, and it's like business as usual. And so it's like, absolutely not. We're gonna fix this.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of that. And like one like small instance, but that I feel really good about was right after we put the lights in. So I spent all this money on lights. My poor husband, then the day the lights got turned on, which was like this past December, after like a long process of like, anyway, all the things, it got turned on like a Friday night at 8 p.m. And my poor husband was like, we have to go see them. And he's like, oh my God, it's like a Friday night, 8 p.m. in December. And I was like, and we
It's
went,
like
we like
Christmas lights. That's like
Christmas
going
lights.
to
We're
look at the zoo lights, basically.
oh, I love going to the zoo lights.
Mhm.
But a week later, I got a text from a constituent of mine who said that she was driving on North Main. And like, I get a lot, like nothing happens on North Main without a whole bunch of people texting me, which now I very much appreciate. I'm like the godmother of North Main. But she texted and she was like, somebody wandered out into the street on North Main at dusk, but the lights had turned on and we all saw him and we stopped and people got out of their cars and helped him cross and get safely to the RIP to stop. And I was like, that one instance made like the whole effort worthwhile, because I think 2 years ago he would have gotten hit because it would have been dark there.
Yeah.
No one would have seen him, and he was incapacitated in some way and like needed help to get across, but no one would have seen him. And so that kind of thing of like, you know, let's get it done. I've been really proud of that because that it's also just been an exercise. It's not sexy work. It's like a lot of, okay, what paperwork do we need to fill out? Like I've sent a lot of requests to the State Traffic Commission. You know, it's like you have to know what bodies to ask for what from and like in what sequence and stuff. But it's, you know, we had to find this federal money like to get the new lights. It's been a labor of love, but like, I'm just really proud we've made these changes. Yeah.
Well, and so I'm curious because we are going to ask you to talk about flock. As you know, we warned you about our flock drama in town. But before that, I am curious because I think our equivalent to like a task force is like a board or commission in North Smithfield, right? So we have a lot of different boards and commissions that get set up to explore different possibilities. And we have this very pervasive problem of the volunteers who are, you know, overwhelmingly community members saying like, this just feels like a waste of my time.
Yeah.
Like we came to all the meetings, we did all the things, we did the research, we presented our recommendations to town council, and then they ignored them or, you know, asked us to go back and research like a different thing. And it's now just been researched to death and like we have no progress. So what advice would you give to, you know, our North Smithfield residents who are serving on a board and commission who feel like they're just wasting their time? What advice would you give them, both in terms of like sticking it out, but also like how to be more effective?
Yeah. And I feel that like I chaired the city sustainability commission for many years, which is like a standing task force. It was the environmental sustainability task force and became the sustainability commission. And there was, just to share this and then I'll share advice, but there was a time where after I became chair, it's like, what are we doing? Like, what is the purpose of why we meet once a month? And I had a good conversation with the then sustainability director, Leah Bamberger. And I was like, do we dissolve this? Like, is this useful? Like, is this how are we? And so my commitment at that time was like, we're going to make this a useful body that is making things happen and provides real resources to you as sustainability director, like kind of as your board. And if that doesn't happen in the next like year, we're going to dissolve it. And now it's going real strong. They send all these, I'm very proud of that too. But we got, when I left to join council, the new chair, Julian Drix, took over. I'm not sure who's chair now because he just stepped down, but they submit comments to the council. They present on things, like they are like really doing the thing. But it took kind of that like come to Jesus moment a little bit of like, should we just pack it in? Like, no one's got time for this. And I'd say for like in general, for some of these, you often have more power than you think that you do. But you kind of get in these ruts, I find, of like, well, this is how it's always been done, or this is what we do, and blah, blah. Like when I joined the Energy Efficiency Council at the state level, it was very much like, well, the council approves this plan, and we might say some things we don't like about how the utility wants to do the energy efficiency plan. But at the end of the day, we're gonna sign on to it. And then we had a really badass group of people join the council, and we started asking some really hard questions. It's like me, it's this guy, Peter Gilcase, who's an amazing architect, Priscilla De La Cruz, who's sustainability director for the city now. And we were asking real questions. And then this last go round, we rejected their proposal and put in our own. And while it didn't like totally solve everything, it shook it up a little bit. Like the PUC was like, wait, you submitted your own? You know, like, what? Like, that's not a thing. So I think it's like, part of the advice is like, don't like figure out like, what is it you're trying to get done? And then like, what are the different paths? Like what would be like a non-business as usual way of doing it? Like, is there like some, you know, is there someone you could call? Is there press you can invite? Is there, you know, an option you haven't tried? Like something that's like kind of breaks you out a little bit and makes people have to say like, oh, wait, and with the North Main work, this is a temporary task force. This just exists during the lifetime of this council. And so I think for me, it was also creating it in a way that was like this, we are solving this problem, or we're going to make some real progress in the next 3.5 years, or what I created it like in my second year. So in the next like 2.5 years, you're intentionally chosen, but this is not a forever appointment. This is like, we're going to make some progress and we're going to see how it goes. And like, you know, I got a really good staff person assigned to me. Shout out Kyle Delgado with the city of Providence. He's like the most competent person I've ever met in my whole life. I love Kyle. Don't steal Kyle. North Smithfield, he's the best.
I don't think we have the budget to steal Kyle. Look, we just did our budget. We're talking about thinking about maybe at some point in the future possibly doing a compensation study. Yeah, I think we're good with Kyle. I don't think you need to worry.
Okay, I don't have to worry about you stealing Kyle.
Well, this is like one of our big, you know, I think Sarah and I will probably do a whole episode on like government employees and pay and compensation.
It's so important.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to that one because like this is a total aside from what I was saying, but like it is so important. Sometimes I think people think government employees are like paid so much and it's just a cushy job. Especially at the municipal level, I mean, at all levels, government workers work really hard, and a lot of them could make so much more money in the private sector. And so it's really a labor of love. Like our chief engineer, Craig Hockman, a lot of what I do is I just love shouting at other people because we're surrounded by amazingness. But Craig Hockman at the city level, our chief engineer, he is so awesome. He does a great job, easily could make 2 to 3 times his salary in the private sector. And so like, so grateful that he wants to work in public service, but like, what do we do to like enable folks to want to have these roles? You know, like it's really important. But yeah, so the advice is like totally be a part of task forces and commissions, and like don't take no for an answer. Like, and find like a good champion who wants to help you. Like when I was on the Sustainability Commission, Helen Anthony on the council, she represented Ward 2. She was a big champion of our work, and she would help us figure out, okay, what do we need to do? Who do we need to meet with? Like what are the levers we're not thinking about pulling? Try creative stuff.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I say, and I've said before, is like one of the biggest tools that any citizen has in a democracy is the power to be annoying. And to just like, and especially if you can get enough people to be annoying with you, to just like wear your elected representatives out to the point where they'll just give you what you want so that you'll just go away.
You need a squeaky wheel.
You need a squeaky wheel. And like the reverse of that, which is the same but a little different, is like if you show up with like some real information, like I have a constituent, Jamie, amazing, Jamie Behagian, I hope you're listening. I met with him early on in my term. He is my constituent. He's really passionate about pedestrian safety. I didn't know much about pedestrian safety and traffic safety. That's not what my background is. It's become like a big part of everything I've done on council. It's like a huge piece of everything I've done. But Jamie sat me down. We had coffee at 7 Stars on Hope Street. And he was like, I want to tell you all about this, and why it's important. And here's some research. Here's some information. You know, you don't have to just like take my word for it. Here's what this is. And like, I remember him saying like, Providence needs to adopt Vision Zero. I don't know why Providence hasn't done this yet. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, you need to tell me. And so he told me, and like, it's about redesigning how we do traffic safety or traffic engineering to lead to zero traffic deaths or major injuries. And I was like, we're not doing that right now. Like, that's not how we design things. It was like very mind-opening for me. But like, he just came with like a ton of research and was like, here, like, this is how we would do it. This is what Jersey City did. This is what these other places done. Like, here's how we would do it. Here's how like we would get involved. And I worked with a student at Brown. I got an intern who like helped me write our commitment to Vision Zero and like do a lot of research for me and stuff. And so then we committed to it by that February. But like, he just came, like, he's also on my North Main task force. And when we were like, I think lighting's an issue, he like, I'm not even kidding. He bought this like light meter and like went to all the intersections and tested out the lighting at the different intersections. And like, when he comes with that kind of data, you can't be like, no, we're not doing anything about it. It's like, oh, like, you can clearly see how dark it is at 9 p.m. Like, I can't pretend I don't know that someone's going to die here. And so, and people already had at those intersections. So that kind of, it's like persistent, but also like, I'm like, here, like, I know you don't know this. You can't possibly know everything about everything as an elected person, but like, coming with that kind of information is so helpful. And so like credible information is like really helpful.
Yeah.
Well, and
be
so
persistent. Yeah.
Well, and this, so that again, this kind of coming to maybe roads, because Rhode Islanders love to talk about our roads.
Yes.
I am curious. So for example, so our last town council meeting, because that's also the one where we had the flock stuff.
Oh yeah.
It was a very spicy town council meeting for a lot of reasons. One of them was conversations about a road in our town, Route 7, which is similarly very dangerous. My understanding is like the signage is very confusing. The pass lanes are very confusing. They're sort of contradictory. And then in addition, there's also going to be, I think trucks have not been able to use the road, but that's going to change soon. So then that's adding like another layer of danger. And I think similar, it doesn't sound like it's as much of a hodgepodge as what you're talking about with North Main, but we have on a lot of our roads issues where the road is a state road.
Yeah.
And so trying to figure out how to get, you know, state and municipal stuff together to solve a problem is challenging. And so I think another, like, again, like based off of what you learned working on North Main, what advice would you give to maybe our town council, our administration, concerned citizens in North Smithfield on how to like actually fix some of these problems?
Yeah. One thing I want to say too is like there are some really great people at RIDOT who are doing a really good job. And
can you tell us how to get in touch with them? Yeah. Do you have an email address I could have?
The cell number. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that.
Do they have a landline? I can just keep calling.
And yeah, I know. Because there are really great people at RIDOT who want to do like really good work. And I think it's like there's so much roadway and so many priorities. And so it's a little bit like getting your thing to be a priority. And to your like point about being a pest, like you know, there's the state transportation improvement plan. Things can sit on that for a long time. That's kind of like a priority list, but the priorities can get reshuffled constantly. So I think, you know, before I was involved as a council person, I would be like, oh man, we got our thing on the STIP. This is great. It's done. You know, and then you're like, oh no, that could never find its way off. You know, you have to like know what the process is and who's making the decisions and when and how to be that squeaky wheel. I would say like one thing that's been helpful is even coming with like minor resources has been helpful. Like when I've met with RIDOT, and they're part of our task force, they've been really helpful. It's like, how are we doing this together? Like, you're not coming to my task force and getting shouted at. You're coming and I'm your team member and we're working on this together. And like city councilors get like very, very small amounts of money for like neighborhood improvements for infrastructure. And like I've offered some of that into the process. And even just offering that sometimes is helpful. Like, I'm not asking you to do something I'm not willing to invest in myself. Like, let's figure this out, or like, I'll fill out the application, or, I bring Kyle again, who's just the best. But like, and we're going to work our way through this process. And so like, I'm sticking my neck out as much as I'm asking, more than I'm asking them to stick their neck out on things, and like try and be that real like partner. I think a lot of times, like on North Main, it'd been a lot of like understandable anger at RIDOT for not doing anything. Like, people were dying, people were getting hit. It was like, why won't you fix this? It was like, you know, if they're not feeling like they're like a part of something, or they're, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, someone's going to yell at them if they change it. They're going to yell at them if they don't change it. Like, that's not going to be your top priority.
Right.
And on North Main, I've been like, if someone yells at you because of the change, you blame me. Like, tell them it was me. Give them my number. I'm pretty open about my cell number. Like, I'll talk them through why we've made these changes. Because, I'm really proud, for example, that you now have a human amount of time to cross the road, but that does make traffic go slower. And that is actually the point, like, that traffic will go slower. But if you're just sitting on North Main and you don't know this context, and you're suddenly at a light for like a minute, your blood is boiling, and you need someone to talk about it with. And so, it's been some of that, of just like finding the right people, and then kind of like understanding the process. Like, I've put in a bunch of requests with the State Traffic Commission based on the road safety assessment we got RIDOT to do. So like, I would say, like, if you can do any of the like road safety assessment, be specific about what changes you want, like, work with them to say, hey, you guys are experts, like, what changes do you recommend here? And then go use that document to like then make the specific requests of what you need. Like, I've made the request of like, please replace all of our signs with no turn on red signs. And then it's like, I get the little note about like, when it's being heard by the State Traffic Commission, and I can show up or not. And like, we'll see what happens. But there's like a process, and sometimes you just have to like figure out what that is and then do it, which sounds like silly advice, but like, I spent a lot of time just being mad that nothing was happening before I was like, oh, this is the guy I was supposed to talk to. And like, this is where I put in the requests. And like, if I come with this like attitude of like, what part of this can I take on? I got a lot more traction. Also, like, not for nothing, like, when that doesn't work, like, we had this when we put in the new lights on North Main near the Whole Foods. There was like a lot of it was just taking a lot longer than I felt like it needed to, and a lot of that was on the utility side. And every now and then I would, like, in writing, which is FOIA requestable from my official emails, be like, people died at this intersection. How many more people would you need to die before we'll turn these lights on? It was like, also like reminding people of what we're trying to do, and that the stakes actually
there
are quite
like
high.
real stakes here, right? I know we only have a limited amount of time, and so, Sarah, do we want to talk about food, or do we want to talk about flock?
I think flock is the hot button issue, and I'm really curious. I was feeling I know what you're going to say, Sue, but I really want to know
all
your
of the food
perspective
is going to
on it.
kill me, but it's
We can talk about food anytime.
Flock too. Sarah, did you watch the town council meeting?
So I did not.
Okay.
I'm curious to figure out.
Do you want me to give a quick recap?
Please, because I'm sure that many of our listeners also did not get a chance to watch it.
Yeah. So basically, long story short, there was some citizen advocacy around flock cameras. We have a flock camera on either direction on 146, which is a state road. They put together a petition. The petition was brought from the town council. The initial plan was to kind of just bog down, again, being annoying. I was actually very proud of this.
Yeah.
It was like, be annoying, bog down the public comment, piss your elected leaders off. It's good for them. No one in elected positions should be comfortable, in my opinion, ever.
Don't worry, we're not.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm a big believer in like really,
especially if you actually care about the work, you're not comfortable ever. If you don't care, maybe you're comfortable, but
fair. So basically, long story short, they ended up just kind of putting it on the agenda just to make it a little bit more organized. And then this sort of basically led to what happened was state police reached out to local police, who reached out to our town administrator and asked if they could put flock cameras on 146. And at the time, Scott had said yes. So cameras went up. It's been about a year. More information has come out about flock. Scott has since said in this town council meeting that, like, if he knew then what he knew now, he like wouldn't have said yes. But it's sort of questionable on if he could really say no. It's sort of, there was sort of some questioning of if this was more of like a courtesy ask anyway, because it is a state road.
It's a state road, yeah.
So cameras are there. They're probably not going anywhere. You know, we can say to state police moving forward, like no more, but again, I'm not sure that we even have the power to do that. So we can ban them from local roads, which it sounds like there's a big appetite in town to do, but we obviously can't ban them from state roads. And here we have a candidate for a state executive position sitting right in front of us who can talk about Flock and the role of Flock and its contract with Rhode Island Police and all of the fun things.
Yeah. And I share what I think are your concerns about Flock. I think you are expressing concern. And I'll take a quick step back that so I'm on the council now in Providence. We have Flock cameras. They were voted in before my term. And I've had concerns about Flock since starting. Our contract doesn't end until 2027. And so I have spent a bunch of time just trying to understand where they are, what's going on, what it would look like to leave that contract, because I understand the pros and the cons. I've talked to the chief of police, who I really, really love and respect. Colonel Perez is a good man. And I understand that, if they help solve one crime, that can be a big deal. But we were kind of talking about earlier with North Main, we had 4 deaths on North Main. Did we suddenly shut down the whole street and make it or we have deaths all the time on 95? Are we suddenly going 25 miles an hour? No. Yeah. We need to understand, just because there is a tool doesn't mean it's the appropriate tool. And so does Flock help? Maybe it helps find people sometimes, but there's a lot of privacy concerns that are really valid with Flock. And some of the things I've done on council, which I would translate into work at the state, is because this is a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, where there's a municipal component, but there's also a state component, and they need to be working together, or there's just different roles. At the city level, so we've had rules in place for a long time about what type of data we share with the federal government, because for folks who aren't following all the Flock stuff, Flock, there's a lot of data sharing that happens with Flock. And so people can get access to your information that you don't even realize you're accessing your information. And at the federal level, there's been a lot of concern that it's being used by ICE to track immigrants. It's being used by ICE to track women trying to access healthcare opportunities in different states. It's been a real issue. And so in Providence, one concern I had was, we have really good rules in place for our police about who and where they can share data. And what type of information we ask from folks who are interacting with the police. We don't ask for immigration status. We don't ask for anything like that. Who's accessing our data, and do they have the same agreements? And come to find out, while we were oh no, we're good. We're not sharing. We were sharing with tens and tens of towns across, there was a town in Texas. There were towns Johnston had it in in Rhode Island, we were sharing in Massachusetts, towns that do not share our same rules about who and where to share information with. And so behind the scenes, this wasn't something I got fanfare about and wasn't looking for fanfare, but we put MOUs in place with any town that's getting our data, because we don't want to be sharing data with folks who are then going to share it with ICE or share it with folks who could harm our residents. Because that's a real concern. Is it solved now? No. There's a lot of backdoor ways that people can get information. And one thing I did recently was work with a class at Rick through Professor Robin Lindy, who's awesome and my constituent. But she had a class who was interested in Flock, and they did a whole research study for me on the pros and the cons, where all the Flock cameras are in Providence. We did a big FOIA or APA request with the city to get a lot of information. They could see who's pulling information, who's tapping information, what it's being used for. And they gave us a great presentation on it. And I intentionally invited them to a committee I chair so we could have the presentation public, and their report would then be part of the public record so that anyone could access it. So if you go to the Special Committee on the Environment and Resiliency, I'm very loose about how I define resiliency. You can see their public presentation. They did a great job, and I'm sharing the report out with anyone who wants it, because there's some real concerns. And you're right, if it's a state-owned road, that's a state decision. If it's a local road, that's a local decision. And so at the state level, I'd want to make sure that if this is something that the police are moving forward with, the lieutenant governor doesn't oversee the police, but we could work together and say, what protections are we at least putting in place? I would love for us to not use Flock cameras anywhere in the state. And if that's going to happen, we need to have protections in place about who has access to the data, where the data lives, how long the data is there for, because a lot of the data lives on these like Flock servers. It doesn't live at the Providence Police Office. It lives somewhere else. Well, you know, it's not live, but you know what I mean? It's physically housed somewhere else. But like, I have real concerns about that. And so there's a lot we can be doing. I would love in 2027 to see Providence pull out of our Flock contract. I've been pretty public about that, like not reignite it. Reignite, that's not the right word. Renew.
Yeah.
My brain, I actually like reignite better. Yeah. Honestly, we're gonna get sick with reignite.
Thanks. Okay, we'll stick with reignite. I would love us to not do that. I hope we don't, but I know that our current mayor very much supports Flock, so we'll see like what that elections have consequences. It's a huge thing, and I've seen we're seeing in Rhode Island a lot of towns turning down Flock, like South Kingstown just said no thank you. Like a bunch of towns are doing this. It's really exciting. So I'm hoping this is, and when I meet with groups across the state, I'm hearing this concern everywhere. Like I'm hearing it in the East Bay, I'm hearing it in South County, I'm hearing it in my neighborhood in Providence, because we have a few Flock cameras on the east side here where I live. Like people are concerned. And we have to do something about it. Yeah. Especially with this like federal government we have. Like we're going down a slippery slope.
In the way that it has been too, right? Like I won't go too much into my ideas on like national politics because we try to keep it local, but the Biden administration was not a beacon of privacy, nor was the Obama administration, right? Yeah. Like I have really significant criticisms about use of data, and also the ways in which tech companies have been allowed to exploit data through administrations really going back, you know, frankly, since we could start at the Patriot Act, honestly. I mean,
100%.
Like, you know, it's not like the Democrat or Republican bureaucracy have been like, we're going to be the ones that like safeguard people's privacy. So I think there's room for this to be like a really bipartisan issue. And I think one thing about Rhode Island is like we hated the British before it was cool. Like we sunk the Gaspee, where, you know, we do have, I think, a really strong like anti-tyrant streak here, regardless of political party, which is why I'm not surprised that Rhode Island has been so against Flock. But do you think, not necessarily as in potentially as a lieutenant governor, but just sort of in general as a longtime advocate, like, do you think there is a pathway right now to ban Flock in Rhode Island altogether and just say, like, as a state, we're going to pass a state law that no one can use Flock?
I think it would be possible. I think that'd be a hard thing to do, but a lot of things are hard and you still have to do them. And so I think it would be possible, but we would need to see like more coordinated advocacy about it. Because right now there's like a lot of focus on the cities and towns, which I think is great because that's where the decisions are happening now. But like bring that together and focusing it at the state level.
Could we bring it together in a task force?
I think that's a great idea.
Could we start a task force?
Yeah. After my election, I'm manifesting that I'll win. Let's have a task force on this together, Elizabeth.
Okay. I would love to be on your task force. My husband will kill me for taking on another thing, but whatever. Who needs a marriage anyway?
What if you get like an official invitation, you know?
Oh my God. My husband. Okay. So the thing about my husband is he loves anything official. Like if I get a medal or something, that's all it takes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's get you like an official invitation.
I get you're in a gold star.
You should have seen our reaction when I got my jury duty summons. Like just
okay. Low
I got such an excited text from you.
I totally I have never been on a jury, and when we lived in California, I'm originally from New Jersey. When we lived in California, I got constant summonses in New Jersey, and I had to keep telling them like, I don't live there. I've not lived there in this many years. This is my legal address here. And then I'd get another, and I'd be like, hey, you sent this to my legal address, so you know I don't live in New Jersey.
I'm not there.
Like, thank you so much. And so I want to serve on a jury, and no place I've ever lived has ever put me on a jury. So now I'm saying it out loud. Maybe Rhode Island will.
Yeah, my husband has. So we've lived in 3 different states, and in every single state since we've been married, my husband has been called for jury duty 4 or 5 times, and I have been called 0 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Like I am organized. I am thoughtful. I am impartial. I would be such a good juror. I will make a spreadsheet. I want to be the jury foreman. I want a campaign to be the foreman. Like I want to make a spreadsheet. I'm going to read the manual.
You'll be the Leslie Knope of this jury. You'll like have a binder.
Yes.
Well, like
it will be color coded.
I am the one who I read the campaign finance manual literally cover to cover. Like I love to read a manual. And so I would be so good at this. And finally, finally my moment arrived. And I finally received my summons. I filled out the online questionnaire. We're waiting. And hopefully this will be my moment in the sun where I finally can serve on a jury. So more to follow.
Good luck.
Thank
Can't
you.
wait.
Thank you. Sarah, you have a question that you ask every candidate. Do you want to pop off?
I do. 100%. We can wrap up with this one. What is the question that no one asks you that you wish they would?
I think like one thing I wish I had the ability to share with people more is like why this excites me so much. And I feel like, Sarah, you've actually kind of gotten to this because you've pointed out like, I get really excited when I talk about this. Like, this is like not, I'm just such a nerd for government. And like, I really believe that we could get a lot done in government.
Yeah.
And I wish people asked questions that got me more like being able to demonstrate that. Like, you know, I just made a joke about Leslie Knope, but I do, if you guys watch Parks and Rec, like I do really feel like I'm the Leslie Knope of Rhode Island and think that's a positive thing. It's like,
okay. Well, so here's a tough question.
Oh yeah.
Because I know that you said you're not doing endorsements, but at
in the mayoral race, yeah.
Well, it's not like across the board, right? Like you didn't want to endorse anybody, but I am going to ask you for an endorsement and I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. Okay.
Yes.
At the end of Parks and Rec, at Jerry's funeral, it is sort of ambiguous if Leslie or Ben is president.
It is. It's Leslie.
And so, but that's what I'm not, if Leslie and Ben were both running for president, who would you endorse?
Oh, Leslie.
Yeah. I mean, that is the right answer.
That's
Ben
the right
would make
answer.
a great first husband though.
He would have so many awesome initiatives and he would be a great first husband. But it should be Leslie. And she even talks about she's been wanting to be president her whole life. Like she's and she's got a plan for it. So I would endorse Leslie Knope.
It's true. All right. I would too. I would too. I think that's the only actual right answer.
And yeah, we still haven't had a female president. So it
I think Leslie could be
Leslie.
First.
Yeah.
Leslie could definitely be the first. If anyone could be the first, it would be Leslie.
I had a depressing moment and then I'll like stop. But my colleague and good friend, Justin Royas on the council who sits to my left, who I love, he has 2 young daughters and one of them comes to meetings sometimes. She's like 3 or 4. She's adorable. And she came to one of our committees once. I let her sit in my chair and use the gavel.
That's going to be like her origin story when she's the president.
And I was like, she could be our first female mayor. And I was so depressed because Providence actually has never had a female mayor. And I was like, okay, let's not wait until Bella is old enough for this. Like there really should be one somewhere in the middle here somewhere, but she will be one of them. And that'll be her origin story. I've got this great video of her like,
it'll be in her campaign. It's going to be in her campaign ads one day.
I know.
So for people who are listening, if they're like, damn, love this, want to support, where can they find you? How can they get in touch? Where can they find you online? Give us all your deets.
You can find me online at SueAnderBois.com. And the great thing about having a last name that we've made up, so AnderBois is Anderson plus Dubois, whoop, becomes one name.
Amazing.
I'm the only,
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That me and my husband are the only AnderBois who exist. So if you find, just look for I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And so you can find me there as well for all my campaign stuff. I'm the only AnderBois who's running for office anywhere because I'm the only AnderBois.
Amazing.
Outside my husband who would never run for office. But SueAnderBois.com. And you can email or text me anytime. It's just Sue@SueAnderBois.com. And I love interacting and I love answering questions and just being part of the conversation. So please reach out anytime.
Awesome. Sarah, where can people find us?
Well, they can find us in a couple different places. They can find us at our website, nspubliccomment.com. They can also find us on Facebook at our Facebook page or in our Facebook group. They are both called Public Comment North Smithfield. Our group is open to residents of North Smithfield and we do check. So if you are not registered or to vote or do not live in North Smithfield, follow our page, but don't join our group because we love you, but you can't come in. Sorry. But you can also find us on Instagram under NS Public Comment. And if you have ideas for an episode, topic that you want to have covered, anything like that, feel free to email us at nspubliccomment@gmail.com.
All right. Sue, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me. This has been a delight.
All right. We'll see you soon. Bye.
See you soon.
See ya.